me great pleasure now to bring on board Dr. Praveer Sinha, CEO and Managing Director of Tata Power. Now, viewers will fondly recall that 6 weeks ago at TT Now, when we were talking about stocks for 2024, we strongly feel that for 2024, I mean, what Indian Hotel has done in 2021, what ITC has done in 2023, Tata Power can actually do that in 2024. Could Tata Power be stock of the year? Sinha Saab, good morning. We are sticking our neck out and calling Tata Power from last 6 months that it could be stock of the year for 2024. Do you think we are likely to get it right or wrong?
Good morning, Nikunj, and such a pleasure to be on your show. I think you are quite right, I would say. This company had earlier not performed very well, but last 3 years it has been doing good. And we have been delivering what we had been promising, in fact, delivering more than what we have been promising. And I think the huge credibility has been built. कि जिस तरह से हमने रिजल्ट्स दिखाए हैं पिछले 3 सालों में, ये आगे इससे भी बेहतर रिजल्ट होगा.
Mr. Sinha, 24 months ago, Tata Power had shared with our viewers and with your shareholders that you will not be investing in the thermal capacity. You've not done that. You've invested into renewable. You've invested in solar. But looking at the landscape and the current demand-supply mismatch, looks like thermal as a business is here to stay. And for those who got ready thermal capacity, they are benefiting immensely because of that. So is that a decision you think you took too ahead of its time and you need to go back on that?
So, 2 parts of your question. One is that because of the huge demand, all our existing operations, the coal-based operations and hydro, are doing exceedingly well. And they are running these plants at a much higher PLF compared to any other plant in the country. And that's why our availability and PLF both are very good. And that is supporting our existing operations and is supporting the growth that we are looking for ourselves. Secondly, we decided that we will go the renewable way. And when we say that we'll go the renewable way, we were not just stuck that we will give solutions of just solar or wind. We wanted to come with RTC power, which is 24/7, 365 days, combination of renewable power. We initially started with simple solar and wind, but now with the investment that we have planned in pumped hydro, where we are now setting up 2,800 megawatt of pumped hydro in our existing reservoirs, we will be in a position to offer nearly 10 to 12 gigawatt of RTC power to the consumer. So I think the objective is that how do we provide clean power, as also how do we provide affordable power to the consumers. And I think the solutions that we have got are unique solutions. Our cost of generation from pumped hydro will be much lower than any greenfield project. The time for construction will be much lower. So I think we have a good solution and we would like to pursue this solution because that's what we feel is the correct thing to do.
Read a line from a report. The company aspires to double the FY23 revenue, EBITDA and PAT by FY27. The second part of this report is that according to JM, it appears to be ambitious. So I'll repeat the question again for the benefit of our viewers, sir. The company aspires to double its FY23 revenue, EBITDA and PAT double by FY27. There is a brokerage which says that it is too ambitious. Do you think the brokerage will be right or you will prove the brokerage wrong? And if you will prove the brokerage wrong, how and why?
So I just want to share 2 sets of numbers. FY20, we were about 28,000 crores in revenue. We were about 8,000 in terms of our EBITDA. And we were about 1,400 crores in terms of our PAT. Last year, that is FY23, we ended the year with 57,000 as revenue. We ended with nearly 10,000 as EBITDA and nearly 3,700 as PAT. So we have demonstrated, and for 16 consecutive quarters, we have shown increase in PAT. So I think our performance has demonstrated that what we say, we deliver more than that. And I would only like to people to judge us from our performance and not what we say. So I think whatever we have said, we will not only do that, but possibly do much better than that.
Okay, taken. Mr. Sinha, morning. So let's talk about, what you're going to do 5 years hence. Mr. Chandra was talking about the four pillars of the Indian economy, and he said, energy transition is going to be one of the driving forces that's going to take India in the next decade forward. 5 year hence, what do you think is going to be the energy medium of the future, and what role will Tata Power play in that?
So I think Tata Power will play a very, very important role in terms of leadership on renewable space. When we talk of renewable, the apprehension always is that this is intermittent power. It is only for certain hours, like the solar is during daytime and wind is during evening or nighttime, and also not there for 365 days. What we are trying to do is bring a bundled power, which will be renewable power for 365 days whenever you want it. And that's the type of solution that we are coming up with. These solutions will be a mix of solar, wind. It will be having storage, battery storage. It will also have the pumped hydro storage, which we are investing big time. It will also have demand response. It will have also load management. It will have also energy management, so that you optimize your usage of energy when we have excess capacity, and when we have little less capacity, you reduce your consumption. So these are solutions for CNI customers as well as for utilities. And the type of simulations and studies that we have done, we are very confident of delivering this solution. So I think from Tata Power's perspective, we have a very clear roadmap that we need to provide to our consumers clean energy solutions. We need to provide them affordable clean energy, and we need to provide them 24/7 based on their requirement. And I think we will meet those aspirations in the next 5 years.
Sure. So are you staying put with your capex outlay of 60,000 crore rupees by FY27, largely driven by renewables, as you said?
It's not only renewables, but there will be large amount of capex that we are planning also for the pumped hydro. The pumped hydro projects that we have planned today is nearly 2,800 megawatt, which will involve an investment of nearly 13,000 crores. So that is also part of it. And so also our investment will happen in creating the necessary transmission infrastructure as well as distribution infrastructure. So I think it's a very good balance that we will be doing between the transmission, distribution, and renewable and pumped hydro. And I think the whole objective is to provide very smart and good clean energy solutions to the consumers.
So for 2027, which is what you've indicated, that you aim to double your EBITDA, aim to double your revenue, aim to double your profit. How will the split change? Where will the large amount of concentration for the profitability and the revenue contribution will change? So just for the benefit of our viewers, if you could tell us your top 4 revenue contributors right now, FY23, and for FY27, we are using that for base comparison. What would be the split like?
So right now, each one of them is about 1/3. It may change from 1/3 for each to maybe 40% or little more than 40% for renewable. And then our transmission distribution will do about 35%, and 25% will come from our existing coal and hydro and some of the new hydro that we'll do. So I think it will not change very much, but yes, some direction of change will happen, because the type of investment that we are doing in renewable is largely is much more than what we are doing in other areas.
Right, Mr. Sinha, morning. I wanted to understand your outlook on the spaces that you've taken a bet on, solar and wind. And given that prices in both of these spheres are falling, what makes you confident in light of the technology to take a bet on a space where we are seeing prices collapse?
Well, I think the prices have stabilized. If you remember, 2 years back, solar bids were at less than 2 rupees and around 2 rupees. They have now stabilized at a much higher level, around 270, 280. Secondly, the wind also, the tariffs have stabilized. And now going forward, I find that there are more of hybrid bids which are coming. So these are not just plain solar or plain wind, but they are mix of wind and solar. In fact, recent bids are more complex bids, which is a mix of solar, wind, and storage, and certain hours in which you need to give peaking power with storage. And going forward, I think it will become more complex with demand of more storage, which can be both battery storage or pumped hydro storage. So I think the prices will stabilize. There will be much lesser number of players who will be able to implement such complex bids, as such complex projects within the time frame. And I think we strongly believe that we have a huge edge compared to anyone else, considering that we do right across the whole value chain of transmission, distribution, and generation, and different types of generation to bundle power.
Along with that, the kind of leaps that you've made into the EV charging infrastructure. In fact, reports are suggesting that you already have 85% of market share in home charging. How do you plan to maintain this moat? Because, this is a business, clearly very lucrative at that. And it seems like there's place for many here.
Well, it's again a quality of service. And when we talk of EV charging, it's not just putting the charger, but also ensuring that how you supply energy to the EV charger, and also the customer part of it, the CRM, and how do you ensure that the customer comes to know on real-time basis the usage of the charging infrastructure. So I think the experience that we have in distribution business, where we have the customer connect and the ability to meet the customer expectations on real-time basis, helps us. We have unique solutions, like we have a network operation center which monitors on real-time basis the usage of the chargers and notifies the customer. So I think many of the solutions that we are bringing is because of the integrated knowledge, or the knowledge that we have right across in transmission, distribution, and customer service, which helps us to have a unique offering for EV customers.
2027 plan, again, I'm using that as a reference, Mr. Sinha. Will Bhumi be part of the operations, or you've thought of selling it? I mean, is there a thought given to that operations?
Well, at some stage, we will take a call. As you are aware, that we have been divesting all our investments outside India. And at the opportune time, we will take a call on that.
And what are your assumptions for Mundra for 2027? I'm using 27 again for reference, because 3 year out is where we can understand that what are you building in. So in your commitment of doubling everything, what assumptions have you taken from Mundra?
I think one thing that has been established is that Mundra is a very important factor to meet the power requirement of the beneficiary states and to meet the power requirement of the country. It continues to be one of the low cost, in spite of the Section 11, where the cost pass through is there. And we do expect that with the type of demand that will be there in subsequent years, there will be some solution which will be similar to or more in line with what is the Section 11, so that there is a cost pass-through that is ensured. So I do expect that Mundra will continue to serve the customer, and today also it operates at virtually full capacity, meaning that even at under Section 11, it is in merit order, and it is one of the low-cost producer of power. So this will continue in 27 also, and subsequent to that also.
You've raised PE investors in your renewable businesses. Would you be looking at exploring that as you built up your solar pump business, as you built up your other storage businesses? Would you be looking at more such deals, what you've done before with global investors, with global funds?
We keep on looking at opportunities. So it's too premature at this stage to take a call on any of these things. But what I can assure is that we will be in a position to invest this money, and there is a lot of demand of the good projects that we are implementing, and we will implement this project with more of our internal resources and the debt equity ratios that we maintain, and we will always have very healthy financial metrics when we implement these projects.
What really differentiates a utility company and a power company is the cost of borrowing. You're a Tata Group company. You got access to cheap capital. That is one of your USPs. How do you see that would be an advantage going forward in a business like power?
It's a big advantage for us, and that's why I always share with all the investors that since we have a great track record, we are able to get a lot of financing both in India and outside India. And recently, we had shared that we got financing from DFC from US at a very competitive rate. So I think financing for good projects, and especially for a company like Tata Power, will never be a challenge. For us, what is important is to implement these projects on time and give value to our shareholders.
And there's a holding of 45% in Tata Power. Is it still below 50%? Do you think it makes sense for them to increase if the profits are increasing, if the path of growth is so strong? 45% is still below 51%.
I couldn't get your question.
No, my question is that Tata Sons today has 45% stake in Tata Power. The company, Tata Power, is embarked on a growth path. Do you think going forward there could be capital infusion, warrants which could come from Tata Sons if you need capital?
These are very premature questions at this stage. When we require capital, we look at all options and we'll take a call.
We like to read in between body language. When a CEO smiles on a question, I don't know how to judge it.
Well, I've been smiling right through all your questions. So the only way to judge is that what we are saying, we deliver, and we will deliver much more than that.
I must say that just closer to Diwali, when we were doing our dipstick well eaten, we firmly believe that this could be stock of the year for 2024. And after this conversation, I have reason to believe that at least our conviction in ET now, in a sense, would be proven right. So appreciate your time. Have a wonderful year ahead. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, and you also have a great year and a great holiday season.
Let's move on now, and from Tata Power, let's welcome on board the management of Shyam Metalics.